Hi, everybody, it's Weird Wink Wilkinson laughing and scratching at you. How's everybody doing today? I got a little bit of a stiff neck. Let me just fix this up. Oh, that feels a lot better. Well, I got a great show for you today with some wonderful weird stuff. I feel so very weird.
There are some things in this world that go way beyond human understanding. Things that cannot be explained, things that most people don't want to know about. That is where we come in.
No human being would stack books like this.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. I'm all out of bubblegum.
Well, it looks like you're the one who needs to be taught a lesson, pal. Class is paying 101. The instructor's Casey Jones.
Look, I don't want to fight you.
Well, tough rocks, pal.
Do you want some coffee, Mr. Tully?
Do I?
Yes, have some.
Yes, have some.
It's a cup of coffee in the big time, yeah. Cup of coffee in the big time.
Hey, what do you say we both be independent together, huh?
I guess one person can make a difference. Enough said.
We have the tools, we have the talent.
It's Miller time.
Luminous being so weak, not this fruit catcher.
Empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow, or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
Hey, these aren't my rules. Come to think of it, I don't have any rules.
Well, that's great. Either I have a monster in my kitchen or I'm completely crazy.
I don't think you're crazy.
You know something? Maybe I am insane. Maybe I am insane.
Pizza dude's got 30 seconds.
Rise to the top, oh yeah.
That's the nicest thing a dog can say about anybody.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. Enough, I get the point. You know what you need? You need a Brazilian plastic surgeon.
I've got one that can see.
Sometimes happens, someone has to deal with it, and who are you gonna call?
It's showtime.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Comic Book Radio. This is episode 291. I'm your host, Peter Cimetti, and tonight my guest is Adam LAWSON. Adam is a very busy dude. We've been trying to work out this show for a while, months, but he's very busy. So I'm so glad we could have him on tonight. Now, before I bring him on, two things. The first thing, I want to let you guys know that we've got 12 days left to unlock some stretch goals on newsprintcomics.com, which is the Fund My Comic campaign. You can go to fundmycomic.com/newsprintcomics, or you can go to newsprintcomics.com. It'll take you there. Either one is fine. That is to help me build an in-house indie comic print shop so I could print comics on newsprint. And I'm already doing that. And we've already hit our goal. So we're going to do it. We're there. But there's a couple really cool stretch goals that I want to unlock, and we got some time to do it. 12 days left to do it, and I think we could. I really do. If you haven't had a chance yet to check out the campaign, please do so. This is not just a campaign for me. This is a campaign for everybody, really. A lot of indie creators are going to be printing their books using this service. I think Adam actually is going to do something through it, but I don't want to put words in his mouth. I'll let him define whether or not he will. And so if you're supporting this campaign, you're not just supporting me, you're supporting something that could potentially be really great for a lot of people. If you're a creator, this could be really great for you. So we got print vouchers on there. You can go and pick one of those up. They don't expire. You can get your print run done anytime you want, a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years, whatever it may be. And you can cash in that voucher when the time comes, when you're good and ready to print your book, and we'll get that going. But you can go to newsprintcomics.com and check that out. And big thanks to everybody who got us to the point that we're at right now. Could not have done this without you guys. And second thing, let me say hello to you in the chat. We got Bretsky here. Salute to the incoming chat. And it says, salute, Pete. Well, hey, Bretsky. Looks like he made that comment about an hour or so ago. So we got it nice and early for that. Creators Outlet, how's it going? Good to see you. We also got Derek here, too. How's it going, Derek? And it says, hello to everyone as well. Comics for Life is here. What's up, Comics for Life? Good to see you in the chat. All right, so it looks like that's about it for now. We might have more people coming in during the course of the show. So without further ado, let's bring him on, the man of the hour. That would be Mr. Adam Lawson.
Dude, Peter, this is good. I know you're right. It has been so long trying to connect this up, and my shooting schedule has been so nuts. And but I had, because of the holiday, this holiday today, a lot of people in film and advertising take it. So it's like this silent day. And my director I produce for the most, he's in France, and so at Cannes, and so it was like this perfect window to jump in and jump on.
And for those that don't know, I mean, you're not just a comic creator, right? You're involved in film and TV and commercials and whatnot. What do you do? Could you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I've taken quite a journey in film and entertainment. I've produced many movies, written many movies. I've been the showrunner for more than 100 episodes of television. I've written and directed lots of TV, and I've produced hundreds of commercials at this point. And I've also worked on video games, and then I do comic books. And I think comic books is the place that's sort of deepest in my heart, because it's one of the most unfiltered ways to have a visual, to communicate in the visual medium.
Mm-hmm.
Because film and television or commercial advertising, and just think about like a commercial. I'll spend $550,000 in production for one 30-second spot. That's just production. Then post, and then ad buys are like $1.5 million, $1 million on one 30-second experience, right? So the barrier to entry is high, right?
Oh yeah.
So as a result, the higher the budget, the more cooks come into the kitchen, right? And and it's very hard to make pure art at that point. And I think that's one of the things I love so much about comics, particularly when you're not at the big two, is that it's much more unfiltered, not unedited, as we talk about, Peter, but unfiltered, fearless storytelling. And so then in comic books, I've always been really super passionate about it. And then in 2020, COVID hit, and I released my first book, the 220-page hardcover slipcase edition. Did it crowdfunding. I was inspired by some of these people on Indiegogo that were doing sort of crazy numbers. And I think that, not that I necessarily thought I would get those crazy numbers, but that it made me believe there was an audience, right? That existed out there for this crowdfunding experience. And since then, I've been published through mainstream as well. I did a book with Wesley Snipes called The Exiled, which you can buy it in stores now. And I have another book, which I can't really say the name of it just yet, but I just closed the deal on it with another publisher, and it will be in first quarter of next year. I guess if I say it before we plan our marketing strategy, they'll be mad. But it's something I did with Maxi Dallo, and it's imagine it's The Wrestler meets The Shining, and so that's kind of like to this point. And then what I've come to love also too about what happens in indie comics, and Peter, you were somebody early on who connected with me, is that like there is this camaraderie of creators and desire to help and lift each other that's very special. I think that's why people right now are so blown away by Tom Cruise over Mission Impossible and like the Sinners movie. Like he just went to the Sinners movie, then just started promoting that film, which he didn't produce, he didn't act in it, he didn't write it, nothing. Just out of the sheer love of the game. And people are kind of blown away in our industry right now. He's winning an Academy Award for it, an honorary award for like uplifting the industry and like achievement in stunts. It's like,
wow,
because there he is. You see him at the AMC talking to the AMC employees for 20 minutes before the screening. And it's just
he just set a Guinness World Book record thing, right? A Guinness record wasn't it for like some kind of flaming parachute stunt?
I mean, that flaming parachute stunt is the most. I mean, that's the most unbelievable stunt I've ever seen on to make a film.
That's insane.
It's that, and then the underwater sequence he had in the sub. I don't know if anybody's seen the new Mission Impossible, but you should, even if you're maybe not a fan of the series. It's just one of the most unbelievable feats in filmmaking history. Like in the sub sequence underwater, it's like, I mean, I'm watching this and I'm like, and I've filmed thousands of days, and I'm like, I can't comprehend such a journey. Like it's incomprehensible. Really, it's like, it's a feat. The stunts on the plane, it's like nothing else. It's like the John Wick films have a similar. They're not at the quite extreme that Tom Cruise goes, but I watched a documentary, Wick is Pain. I don't know if you've seen it, Peter, or if you know seen the John Wick films. But
I don't know the documentary.
The documentary is about how painful it is to make those films.
Okay.
And like, there's this behind the scenes where where Keanu Reeves takes off his clothes, right? And he's just battered. It's like he left a cage fight. And then he's watching the movie with the director, and he's like, "Oh, see me limping there? It's because I blew my knee out on that take, and I'm still going." And it's like, there is a raw nature to that experience. It's like,
yeah, that's like a different level of filmmaking. That's more like something akin to professional sports, as opposed to the movie magic of okay, cut, get the stunt guy in, or fix it in post, or get some CGI going, or 100 other things at this point.
But I think it's why both those films resonate so much with people, because you're like, oh wait, these guys put their blood on the line. And like Keanu talks about it, he's like, listen, I spent my 50s being John Wick, and it was this magical time, and they paid for it in pain and blood. And there's something really it's different. I think that maybe this new movie Ballerina that's kind of in that universe. Maybe that's its weakness, is that it didn't have a Keanu. I mean, he's in it, but he's not the central character. Quite paying that kind of price, yeah.
Wow.
But anyways, right. Long story of that is that there is that in the comic book scene, with lots of creators.
Oh, sure.
Blood is in the game. You're somebody who's, your blood and sweat and tears are in the game, and like your contribution and supporting of other creators. And that's a profound experience. Like that is, in the creative arena, it's a really rare thing. And so I love it. And so that's why this is become my fat passion. I've kind of stepped away a bit from TV over these last couple of years, because I had 2 children that are 1 and 3, and TV schedules are, my shooting schedule for commercials is bad, but TV's even worse because you have those big blocks, 3 months.
You're a busy dude, man. Should we just stop the show and let you get back to maybe?
No, are you kidding? No. But like, there is this really fabulous like desire to create stories, and they live and swim in me, and I'm having just the funnest time. And I've been promoting other people's comics and just reading and reviewing comics, because I've often wondered, it's like, I wonder what Rick Remender's reading. What is Scott Snyder reading and excited about? What are these other guys in their heads? And I thought, I should start doing that, where it's just talking about other people's great work, because you're happy to be a fan as much as you are in the biz.
Yeah, you make a lot of videos. I see a lot of your stuff promoting people's work. Whenever I send you something that you've purchased from me, I'm always looking forward to seeing what you're going to say about it, because you always make something so great. And I got a feeling a lot of people are like that too. But you're always posting. Like anybody goes to your page, like, what do you have it on? Is it on Twitter only, or do you have it on other social media too?
So I have it on X, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, and X is like the one I'm the most like active on, like replying to comments, connecting. Like it's kind of the best arena I feel like to connect with people.
Okay.
While you're talking about stuff. Instagram, I feel like maybe is the least of those. I've been doing this One Piece series where I've been reading one volume of One Piece a week for 23 weeks. And I'm, and on YouTube, that's been just been that the One Piece fan base there is just really exciting. And so those video views are way outside of my normal, and like the comments and the interaction there is pretty cool on YouTube, I'll admit. Instagram seems like kind of the most dead. Like it just,
there's there's a lot of weird lack of functionality on Instagram that I'm just still puzzled as to why it's that way. But it works for some people, but
clearly. And I'm not a tech guru. I'm not, I'm not a tech billionaire.
I try and I'm like, I don't know. I can't.
I can only know what like the response is, right? You can only know what the response is. And so, is there a comic book I'd like to tackle on the small or big screen?
Yeah, Comics for Life usually has some pretty great questions. That's a really big question. Before we get into that, I definitely want to get into that. But before we do, I want to ask you, how did that come about in terms of you talking about these comics and highlighting all these comics? Because like you're purchasing a lot of comics too and reading a lot of comics.
Yeah.
I don't think I know anyone who's on that same level as you, and you read all kinds of different stuff, whether it's indie crowdfunded, indie in the comic shop, mainstream. You read everything, you talk about everything, new, old, whatever it is. I've admittedly fallen out of love largely with mainstream modern comics, but you're still out there and you're picking up some good stuff. You're picking up stuff that you want to talk about and highlight, and you're bringing a lot of energy and enthusiasm to it. And you're doing it in a way that I think comes across really genuine. At least it does to me. And I'm always confused as to why it seems like, let me try to find the words for this. It seems like you're more psyched about these books than some of the creators making them are.
Yeah. Sometimes you can kind of feel that, that they're, and sometimes I often realize that this isn't a public space, social media. So you don't know what's inside that person's head per se, or what it's like, what they're living with. And also someone might be quite shy, or I know also too, sometimes there's this weird vibe that's been created in social media about like this sort of sometimes it's gotten cliquey where they're like afraid to like or promote you because you might like someone that they don't like. Sometimes that kind of weirdness can happen, but I'll be what's interesting is like Scott Snyder and I'm always talking about his Absolute Batman. He sends me direct messages. He'll retweet me. And I love Scott's work. You know what I mean? He's a mainstream creator, and I've been loving what his Absolute Batman. It's been like you're saying, like I've been out of the big two for a while because I really wanted to step away from them because there's this ocean of comics. And there's only so much you can read and so much you can buy in a month, right? And I'm pushing the limit of that.
My Lord, yeah.
And so, I feel like, by stepping away, getting those books out of your life, you can really start to sort of cherish all of the incredible creation happening out there on the fringes, and it's so much more exciting. I remember, I told this story before. I was shooting stakes on a plane, and Samuel Jackson came to set, and he was reading Brian Azzarello's 100 Bullets. And I remember I was like, if that's good enough for Sam, it's got to be good enough for me, right? And so I went to the comic book shop and said, I'm going to need what he had. And I remember reading that first volume, and like, I was so blown away that this was a non-superhero story and how it moved me. And I was like, wait a minute, there's this whole other ocean out there I didn't even know existed. But then what's been exciting to see here, Scott Snyder with his Absolute Batman, and I thought, let me just give this a try. I loved Witches, Scott Snyder's horror series. I loved it deeply, and I was like, I thought his Court of Owls was good enough. I've liked some of his work, and I thought, let me try this Absolute Batman and see what he does with it. And I loved that first issue, and this that kind of opened me back up to it. And then Dennis Camp is doing the Absolute Martian Manhunter, which just knocked my socks off. And so I've really enjoyed those two series in the Absolute, like in the dipping the toes back in the mainstream. I've really enjoyed them. And in some ways they're nice because you're getting to start a little bit at the origin. So you aren't just join in at Batman 726. that's hard to feel.
Oh yeah, well at this point especially, yeah.
Yeah, you're just so lost, and also too, it's like it's hard for there to be any stakes. I think this is sometimes I try to communicate this to people. The problem with a series that's been going for that long is nothing means anything because you've killed the guy 20 times. He's killed all his villains 20 times. So the stakes are so low because you've already tread all that ground. And so the Absolute Universe, those two in particular, Absolute Wonder Woman's had some good moments. Absolute Superman didn't connect with me, but I've tried those and it's been fun to see that. And I also feel like there's just like this mid-tier level of press. You know, Peter, like I would put Alternate in, I would put Mad Cave in. These other presses, they're like these small press operations. They're delivering incredible stories. You know, let me grab you this stack real quick.
Oh man. He's saying stack. I can only imagine. Yeah, I don't know if you guys. Yeah. It's not a couple of books. It's going to be a bunch. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had to,
look at that. Wow.
Yeah, I just had a couple of quick reading things. Like, I don't know if you caught this, the Metal Hurlant, the sort of the revival.
I haven't caught any of this. So whatever you show me right now, I'm seeing for the first time.
Metal Hurlant, they crowdfunded a relaunching of the original French comic book that spawned heavy metal. Both of these relaunched in like their 50th anniversary, and it's incredible. It's like you've got like Jodorowsky next to and Mobius next to new artists, new creators. It's just sort of an incredible feeling. And then heavy metal, I've been wildly impressed by the stories they put into this, and it feels like a true return. And that's been fun. And like I look at like Mad Cave Press here, this Prairie Dogs, super good story. This
I gotta say one thing. Amazing. I kind of like how not precious you are with them.
Yep.
I kind of like how it's very obvious. You've read them, you flip through them, you're looking at them. You're not like, okay, I gotta make sure, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that.
No,
but
yeah.
I do like to see that people aren't, very, and I don't know if you've got multiple copies of something that you really like and you want to keep one in great condition and one as a reader copy or whatever. I know some people do that, but it's interesting to see in a day and age that we live in where it seems like sometimes I wonder anyway, is anyone reading this? Do they just collect it to collect it? Do they just put it right in the bag and board and call it a day? And they don't actually know what's in between?
I think there's a danger in that. That like you get stuck in the bag and board world. So I get my books without bags and board. This is an amazing series on Titan Comics, by the way, huge detective. But like I take this and and I kind of toss it. And the thing was, I'm inspired by what I see when I see pictures of my dad when he was a kid. Remember, when my dad was a kid, everybody bought comic books. Issues would sell 3 and 5 million copies, right? And kids would just have a stack, right?
Oh, yeah.
And what I like about that is when something just can become something that you can stuff it in your backpack and you're not mad, is that then you become about the story and the experience. And there's nothing wrong with being a collector. I did these for Jawbone Death, for people who really wanted to go in deep. And there's nothing wrong with being that guy either. But once I stepped away from trying to like hang on to them, and like my single issues, I just give them away for free afterwards when I'm done. And then I buy the trades of things I love. So it's just like, these are, in my mind, what makes the magical is the reading of them. And I think that's one of the reasons why manga has such a great presence, is because it's about reading books. Much, much less about collecting them. I mean, you want to get all the volumes in a series, but there isn't a preciousness to what that is near as much.
Yeah.
And I think that serves its purpose, because somebody who just looks at something can only become so excited about it. It's why Batman and Superman live on so long, because you can buy and collect it because you have a long-standing experience with it. And so it can sit in your heart forever. But if you're actually reading stuff, then new things can get into your heart, right? And so that's what I made that commitment. I was like, I'm going to be the guy who reads them versus the guy who collects them. So like my crowdfunded books, I've backed 400 of them. I've read 390 of them. I've got a few to read over here. And I wanted to give that back to those creators. And not all of them have been good, and I don't talk about things that don't excite me, because I don't think there's any space in this world for a negative review. You know what I mean? I can just tell you the stuff I love, and this other stuff, because somebody else may love it. So I don't need to get into that, but I can tell you what I love. That's what I can know. I'm like science. We can't prove the negative. We can only prove what is. And so there is, that's an exciting thing. And so like, when I look at like, also too, like what Dark Horse is doing, Jump Scare, that's an incredible book here. Cullen Bunn, I see, and like, I'll see what Image these creators are doing. And when you start connecting with these guys who are kind of in this mid tier, who are not maybe like deep on the Marvel or DC side of it, they're some of the, I think maybe some of the politic things that have entered those big two, they go away, because these are just honest creators trying to make something, you know what I mean? And they're not getting 1,000 a page, you know, they're not. And there's a lot of heart in it, and that's exciting to see. And I think like there are great artists like Nick Klein, who I love. He's doing the Incredible Hulk right now for Marvel, and I feel like every page he makes, he always posts it, and it's like that guy's blood is in that ink because it's so passionate. And there can be passion there too, but that's what's exciting to me, and I think that's what it like. I do hear what you're saying, Sheldon, about the double page. Like you can really lay it flat to get that double page, and I hear you on that. I think the thing that's hard is if it sits in a box, I never think about it again. If it sits on a shelf, I will go back to it. And that's why I've kind of like made that choice. Like your double pages don't sit as well. I accept that. But if it's in a box somewhere,
yeah, not a ton of double page spreads though.
Not a ton,
especially.
No. So I'm willing to give that up, even though that is a price. I did do a double page for Jawbone Death for anybody who got that.
Yeah, there you go.
You got to do a great double page in there, and then we did a double page wrap cover.
Yeah, nice.
And so I think also too, what's cool, don't you think, Peter? It's like when you're getting a crowdfunded book, you're paying a premium price because they don't have a lot of money and they have low volume, right? It's just, Eric July was talking about that the other day.
Yeah, the economies of scale are very different.
Yeah, volume is the game in a mass market product. And so you're paying a premium price. So it's like, how can you give somebody something more premium, right? You sign it, you make it foil, you do embossing it, you make it an experience enough so that when they have that item, if they are, that they'll read it and love it, and then it'll have some value, it'll have some meaning, that like, oh, I crowdfunded that thing and you can't get that anywhere else. That's experience. And I have a real sadness about with The Exile, the way that worked out with my publisher on that, and delays, and anyways, that will never be a repeat in my life again. But trying to prioritize the crowdfunders as a special experience. But that's kind of my philosophy on it, getting into it is that. And then I guess maybe the last thing is I try to really separate some of the political energy of a creator and their creation, because I'm not sure what that is, but sometimes there are some creators who are wonderful, but they kind of maybe dump whatever sort of political feeling they have wherever side it is, and I try to just sort of just sidestep around that. You know what I mean? Unless it's every post from them, and then I usually kind of just unfollow. Because it's just too much, and you're like, I'm trying to get back to this story thing, but like that's okay. They can have those feelings, but I'm not here for those feelings. But those feelings are theirs, but they're not. I'm not here for them. So I think that kind of helps you swim a little easier through it. But boy, I feel like, and how do you tell me, Peter? Like, I feel like comics, even though the Western comics are at a pretty big decline in sales, it's almost the most exciting time in comics. It's interesting. I was in Boston and I visited some comic book shops there, and it's amazing how many comic book shops are in Boston. Like that's a busy.
Oh, there's a lot.
Comic book scene. I hit as many as I could, and I was there, and I was like, and every one of them I go, I do a video about it. I talk to the owner, get a feel for the biz on that side. And every single shop said the number one sale, the number one successful thing for them financially was manga, right? And they were all and they were also a little bit near Harvard, so it was college students and things, and they're more on the manga speed about that. And and you just got to see that, like, even though there's kind of that shift in buying from a creation standpoint on the Western side, when you dip down below the big two, it's so exciting what's happening in comics.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, that's kind of been the conundrum us indie creators have had for a while now. Is a lot of shops will bemoan the big two, and then you're like, well, expand the indies. And they're like, well, no one wants to buy the indies. And it's like, well, how many indies do you have? Like, I've been into shops where that's what they say. You know, they don't say, I don't know. I'd rather they just say, look, your book looks like it sucks. I don't think anyone's going to buy it.
Yeah.
All right. That would be like, okay, you know, that's truth. Okay. From them, you know, that's how they feel. But when they go, no one's buying indies, you know, the indies don't sell. I'm like, indies are so different. They're all so different. You can't just say that independent books don't sell.
Right.
You know, and this was like years ago when I was trying to get into stores for the first time. And this particular store didn't even want to carry like Walking Dead. They were so anti-indie. And this was when Walking Dead, it was like probably around issue, I don't know, 20 something. So it was doing very well.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like the monster it became, but it was doing very well, especially for an indie book. And, you know, so I kind of took that with a grain of salt a bit, because I was like, I don't think they even know what the hell is out there for indie at this point.
No, and that's one of the limitations about shops, is that shops are curated by the owners. And because it's usually such a small group of people running it, it's usually the owner, maybe one or two employees tops in most of these shops, save for big things like Midtown, right? It's because it's such a one-man army, the curation is so narrow.
Yeah.
And it's really limited on their scope and experience. And it's unfortunately is a bit of a disservice because they aren't reading. That's one of the crazy things when I ask shop owners sometimes, what are you reading? They're like, oh, I haven't read anything this week. And I'm like, you should have read 10 things this week, because you got to sell those things to people.
Exactly.
But that's, once again, it's the reading thing. Like, can you read? But you know, they're on Dr. Mask's Retro Elixir, House of Penance. I've not read it, but Peter Tomasi I do like a lot, and I could definitely add that to my list, because I do like Peter. So, but that being said, you know, it's so fun to be out there, and I think that you know, one of the things that's awesome too, if anybody doesn't know this, is the Midtown Comics app is how I do most of my comic books. So unfortunately, my two shops are close by have kind of closed down. So I have to go. It's not unless I'm shooting someplace or I'm deep in LA that I get to a real shop. The Midtown Comics app, because they get literally like 200 titles a Wednesday, right? And you can just scroll through, click, boom, and mail, and it'll send them to you. And so that's what I do. It's like, you see the new weekly, you just go through, you scroll, you look through the different titles, and they get so much that there is a way to kind of get them in. And because they're such an online presence that they're no longer just like a single owner, you know, like this curating. But anyways, that's my soapbox on it. But yes, you don't be precious. Remember, if you're not reading them, you know, that's all where the fun is, you know, at least for me.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Comics for life. I want to get back to this question, but I want to kind of add a little bit of a spin to it. So he asks, is there a comic book that you would like to tackle on for the small or big screen? I want to refine that a bit and say, is there one that you've seen that's not, it's not, you know, a big two character. It's not something everyone would know about. You read so many books. Is there anything that you're reading that you come across and you're like, I think this would make a great adaptation?
Yeah, so the number one book I've thought about that, besides my own, you know, because you got to separate that for a second, but the one I sort of sit back and think is a book called Think. Let me grab it.
Called Think. Have you guys heard of that? I haven't heard of that. I wonder how new it is.
So I
Or
don't know if you read this book.
Oh, Think. Okay.
Think, like SINK. I know it. And this is the best horror comic I've probably read in 5 or 7 years. I put this on my list with things like 30 Days of Night and Lock and Key and Something is Killing the Children. It is incredible. Crowdfunded book as well. John Lees is the writer. Alex Cormack is the artist. Alex Cormack, I love that guy. Great artist. And John Lees, he and I've chatted several times. But it's about this like fictional suburb or like gritty like ghetto of Glasgow, right? So it's all set in Scotland. And it's this town where at night, like these crazy clowns in this blue van go around and like abduct people and beat them up and do horrible things to them. And there's these crime bosses and there's these weird killers and there's this. And so it's somewhat of it's not quite an anthology story, but the central character is the town. And then these characters and stories that move through it. These kids who find this guy who's abducting people and killing them in this old warehouse, and they find him and they have to escape that. And this woman who gets in debt to this mobster, and these sort of layers of treachery, and those clowns that go out at night and torture people. This woman gets attacked by one of them, and she ends up killing several of those clowns that night. And she gets so beaten up that when she finally gets back home to her kids, she looks like one of the clowns. And so she can't go home. And she stays in the blue van, And so there's this depth of storytelling, incredible moments of horror and like character work that I've just like, I'm in this with that the next crowdfunder for this drops because they're volume 3. I'm just standing by, boom, and then when it comes, I'm like, it cuts the line and I'm in. And so Sync would be that book.
All right,
and it's a crowdfunder. It's a crowdfunder.
Yeah, never heard of it. Who publishes it? Or is it published or?
Okay, called Comics Tribe is the name of that one. They did another book called The Wailing Blade, also a very incredible crowdfunded book. Yes, Loving Oversized. Check this, Peter.
Oh boy, that's big. Those are like those really big 1970s coloring books.
These are 11 by 17, right?
Yeah, those are big.
It's the full art. So Hush 2 is coming out this way. And it's just like, when you're reading a comic like that big, it's just amazing. And then they released Deadly Class this way, just the first 2 issues. They left the lettering in, pulled the color.
I never realized how tiny Adam was, but I guess he's a small fellow.
Yeah, I went next to this thing. But boy, when I've been loving these, because when you lay this, you have to read it on your desk, of course, right? Because it's so silly, anywhere else.
Take that on the subway.
Yeah, you're not taking that on the subway.
Make a statement.
But when you lay this guy down on your desk and you feel it at the size that the artist created it, it's a whole other world. You're lost in it in a new way because small panels become huge, right? So the nuance of the storytelling is much louder. And it really, the Oversized, I'm with you. That's a rad experience.
Yeah, I'm picturing oversized, like, 8.5 by 11 or 9.
No, yeah, I know. This, it's like, you got to have a special drawer to hold that guy.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a big boy.
Yeah. But, the thing about, Go ahead, Peter. Yeah.
I was going to say specifically with you, we're talking up everybody tonight, but I want to dive into what you've been up to. Because you got so much going on. So what have you been up to since the last time we got together?
So, I've got these 4 projects. So Jawbone Death, right? Issue 1 dropped. We crowdfunded it. It was a total success. Jawbone Death Volume 2 is out. And if you go to my X, it's the pinned post that you can sign up for the pre-launch on this thing. I was trying to get this done much faster so I could do 3 issues in 1 year, but Jason, my artist, who I absolutely love, just life sometimes gets the better of you, and it's sometimes hard to get through it. But this is, this redemption story of this motorcycle man who has this spiritual awakening as he's torturing somebody for this motorcycle gang because he's their enforcer. Has a spiritual awakening and then guns down his own gang. They come for him, finds himself at the bottom of a ravine, and the avatar, and this ancient warrior who slew the Leviathan from the Bible, returns to Earth, is making their entrance to Earth, return to Earth, but they need an avatar. and he happens to be the guy there.
Mm.
And so it's like destiny chose him to then face off against this force of evil that's coming in and invading the North. And it just so happens that this guy is not qualified on a moral level in any way. He has this great debt of sin and bad choices, but now he has to be this avatar, and he gets this jawbone. So you're saying his weapon instead of a sword is the jawbone of this ancient Leviathan monster. So it's like the jawbone of a dragon, right? He's smashing things with. And so in a way, he's trying to redeem his own failed life in this war. And so I love it. And it's all metal. It's just full metal in the art and in the sense of action. You look at this splash page here. And it's really, it's all things in my heart and Jason's.
Full screen, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Here we are.
Let me bring that back up. This kind of like fabulous one-page splash page here.
Yeah.
Jason's doing it all traditional, pouring his heart into it. And so that's one thing, and that's coming up. And I have this book, Psycho Killers, that I did with Von Kloss. And, we did an ash can for it. And now we've completed the 132 pages of art. And we're getting kind of mired in coloring. Our colorist has had some personal problems. It's as it was. I kept trying to hope to launch it this year, but it's like I'm past the point of where I launch an unfinished book because it's too miserable for me. There are other people that can work fine for, but for me, just like I don't want to take people on the bumpy ride of what.
Oh yeah, if you could do that, it's great.
Yeah.
I'm hoping one day I can get to that point. But it's I feel you. It is a bumpy ride, and there's always like, okay, now I got to make another announcement about a delay or things happen.
And you're just like you lose your mind, and so and once again, there's nothing wrong with going about it the other way. Just I'm kind of like, okay, the Exile kind of killed me, and I was like, okay, it's only finished. So I've been doing that. I've been doing those like these foil signed edition books, 100% finished. Boom, thank you, Jake. So Psycho Killers, it's kind of been a delay. It's probably going to land early next year. Just kind of the speed at which it's happening breaks my heart, but I love that story. And then the other thing I have going on is I have that is Graveborn. Now this is maybe I can present and kind of share it.
Yeah, sure.
Just screen. Let's pick a window. So Graveborn is something I've been working on with my artist from The Exiled. And we started this 3 years ago, and Exiled was like this wild ride, and he got off on doing another book, and as we kind of come back around, it's like, hey, let's pick that back up. And so we're going to be launching it in similar fashion with foil editions. And what I'm doing, if you go to kingofghouls.com, I'm going to try to do this crowdfunder just as pre-orders through a website and try to avoid the Indiegogo side of it. I'll probably do a short, window on a Kickstarter because I've got a big pile of backers over there. But I feel like the people on Indiegogo are the rebels anyways, and like going on your own website. So I'm going to experiment with that. But this story is about a woman who's dealing with the occult. She gets deeper involved in it, ultimately takes things too far. Evil forces come, and her husband is murdered as a consequence of it, and he wanted nothing to do with it. And she's also killed. And so if you can imagine, both of them have, dumped into the ocean, and their souls separate their body, and his is headed to heaven and hers is going to hell. And this devil, not the devil, but one of the players in that game, makes a deal with her, and he's going to put her back into life. She has to become his right hand on earth, capturing these souls as he's preparing for his war. And she's back on earth now, somewhat a la The Crow, trying to figure out how to bring her husband back from the dead so that she can get more time with him before it's over. So it's heavy action and adventure, and it's this, set all this occult world dealing with overwhelming evil and powers. And what she is she's a soul thief. So she'll go into people right as they're about to die, and she wraps them in this blanket of flesh. And as their soul leaves their body, it gets consumed in that blanket, and she delivers it to this devil that she's got to deal with. This guy that's here on the cover. This But you can see Esquivo, his art for this. I just love the feel of it, right?
Yeah,
And
very nice.
and I love this, this sort of this sense of action and motion. There's her, like she's hidden away. Her base is in the basement of this old abandoned church, and so I like it because it has religious overtones, like religious mythological overtones. I'm not trying to be religious mythological overtones. It's got occult elements of it. It's got Cthulhu-esque things. It's got devils, and it's got this woman who every time as she's as working but doing this business as a soul thief, what happens is when she gets killed again, this devil shoves her soul back into her body and she keeps coming back. But every time that happens, she loses a part of herself. So she's in this very treacherous place and trying to cling on to this one thing, which is her shot at trying to redeem what she had done to her husband. So there's going to be relic hunting and artifacts and rituals, all the things I love to put into stories. And then
is this like a one and done type book, or is
No.
this a series?
So this is going to be a series, and so we're just going to do drops. So if you go, it's just going to be in drops. I'm going to try kind of like I'll do that with clothing. Like we'll build up. Hey, there's going to be a drop. There's going to be a drop. It'll be on the website for a pre-order window, and then it will be gone. And we'll kind of open that back up. And then Esquivo has a pretty strong whatnot following, and he's going to do some sales and original art pieces there. I'm going to try to kind of boutique this thing in a different approach that I haven't done yet. And maybe you guys in the chat, I don't know if that sounds good. Is Adam going to finish The Exiled? That is a question for a different, more important individual than myself, whose name cannot be named, but is involved in the creation of that. He's a much more famous individual than myself.
I thought the book was out. It's not out?
It's out, but this is just volume 1. It's 6 issues, and then there's a second side of the story. I just was talking with the other writer and with Wesley, and we've been trying to sort that out. There's some complications with the publisher. So we'll see how that goes. It will not be abandoned. It just may be a minute, unfortunately, on that one, but it will come to be. I will not abandon the ship. So let me try this here. Does that share this? Does that share this thing? No, it doesn't. But yeah, but if you go
to trying to share something,
I was just trying to share another tab that shows this has blocked your screen.
Okay.
But I'm just going to share go to the website, thekingofghouls.com. You can put in your email now to get be on the sign up list for Graveborn, and it's going to be a beautiful piece. We'll do a similar edition like this. Mike Spicer colored it. He does a lot of my coloring. He's just such the best. Colored that cover. The book will be black and white with some gray tones, which I love. I'm a big fan of that. And yeah, we're going to do these special drops with it. We'll do a t-shirt or some merch element each time, and it will be a sort of a unique ride. So those are what's on the plate right now, Peter.
Very nice. Well, I know you had backed the newsprintcomics.com campaign.
Yes.
Did you have something in mind? And thank you for backing it. Did you have something in mind for that in particular?
Yes.
Or is that, you do?
Yes. So I've got kind of two thoughts with this, about this. One is I wanted to start doing newsprint ash cans, right? And I think, I think there's something about, I love the newsprint feeling. Like, for example, there's that book Wolf and Batsy that used to be on newsprint and then it left. And to be frank, when it moved to like bright white pages, it wasn't as fun to read. And I'm someone who doesn't like to read bright white pages. I don't, just doesn't, as a reading format, it's not so fun. Yeah, it's not so fun. I mean, you can gray tone the heck out of your pages, to like help it with this, but just a lot of bright white space is not very fun. Whereas newsprint really is fun. And it's like
it's like a nice, even if it's white, it's still like an off white or kind of like there's a warmer tone to it. Yeah,
exactly. It's why manga, it's so easy to digest, right?
It's just, honestly, scientifically, it's easier to read. It has something to do with the way that the light bounces back, like the blue light from something that's really bright white. The
Interesting.
brighter white, the brighter white that something is, the more blue light that bounces back
That's
and hits
correct,
your
yeah.
eyes, the more it's harder to focus. It's actually
Yeah.
easier to focus on imagery that's got like a tint more towards like the reddish hue or the brownish hue than it is on the bluish hue side. So
Yeah.
it's like a scientific thing. So newsprint comics are actually better for your eyes than bright white paper.
That makes sense to me. That makes total sense to me, and like I prefer that experience quite a bit. It's that I would back that fully. It's like that's what I like about manga. It's in that same sort of uncoated, slightly grayed paper. It's just so. Anyways, I love that. So I would love to try and figure out something. And I backed on the newsprint level. Maybe you and I can talk offline about it. I'd love to make a routine with it because I think it's so cool. And I, in fact, asked my publisher about the Exile. I said, "Hey, can we do a newsprint version?" And he's like, "No one does that." And I'm like, "That's what I love," And so, and I like what that feels like. So when I saw you open that campaign, I was right there. And so, yeah. So for me, like, I would love to be able to be shelling out ash cans in newsprint because I'd love to do just like a drop of 50 or 100 in newsprint and just like open up. Hey guys, these are for sale. Boom. And
that's the perfect way to make use of that short run, especially for the mini size. I do both the standard and the mini size, but that's a really great way to use the mini size. And just in general too, if you're a crowdfunding campaign person that does more than 200 copies, you can still have like a 50 or 100 copies offered that's like a limited edition on the newsprint, as opposed to having like the whole run, the whole campaign is that way. So you could still have like your specialty cover or do whatever, or just kind of make an option of both. But that's the thing, is that I was experiencing a lot of that kind of uphill battle with printing and doing the commercial newsprint, and the quality and the damages and the headaches and everything. Like, I know that people think that, well, you got to now put the books together. That's a headache. I wanted to update people too that are following the campaign. I got the automatic paper folding machine. That's going to arrive in like a week or so, week and a half. So I finally got word that it's shipping out. That's going to be a huge deal because it could fold like 10,000 sheets in an hour. So that's really upping.
That's another level.
So it could kind of, I'm not at like the commercial speed level because the printing won't go that fast. But
sure.
All the other parts of it, to the assembly part, that takes forever. The pages drying, because you want to have pages dry before you start folding them and things like that. That usually is like a day, maybe 2 days in between. And then you need the space to dry them. So I got a drying rack arriving tomorrow. That's going to up my production like 3 to 4 times the amount of books I can produce at the same time. So there's a lot of things I'm doing, and we'll see how it goes with how much we continue to raise on the campaign and how many print runs come in the future. But I'm really looking forward to being able to do this for creators like yourself that can find a way to sort of think outside the box, even with this sort of thing, because there's so many ways you can use this. And if you're creative with it, which it sounds like you're doing, you can really find some fun ways to incorporate this.
Yeah, no, I would 100% agree. And answer a couple of questions in the chat. Yeah, the book I did, Psycho Slumber, with Phil Diaz, is not something.
Oh man, we're making Adam get up and down today.
Is here and out. I didn't mention it because it had already been out and we've delivered it all. But yes,
you got a lot going on, Adam. You know, if you miss 1 or 2 things, I think we can forgive you.
Yeah, it's here. It's awesome. For those who backed it, we've already delivered to everybody. It's super cool. I think Phil still has them. He's moving them to his website as well at Zaid Comics. So if you still wanted that, you can absolutely get it. And Crenshaw, thank you for reading Job on Death. You're awesome. And the comment here I like from Dr. Mask about the website for Graveborn. I just looked at it. You're right. That sign up line is maybe too hard to read. I'll make that adjustment.
Look at that. Corrections in real time.
Yeah. No, we got to make it good for other people. Yeah, it's not just for me.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. But yeah, Peter, you and I should talk offline, a little bit about that as far as funds and et cetera to make that happen, because I want to see that come to pass in our business. And so we should figure out how to make that happen. That'd be great.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But yeah, there's a lot of exciting things going on right now. I really
So
feel
cool.
like we're at the precipice of another wave, and I see so many people being down on things. I see so many creators being like crowdfunding's dead, and and it's like, okay, you stumbled. Like there's a creator that you stumbled. Maybe it's not for you. Maybe you thought it would be a different path or a different way, or you'd have more success or whatever it is. It doesn't mean that all of it's dead. Like people are so dramatic sometimes.
Totally. And here's the thing: people have had some bad experiences. I get it. I've backed a
Absolutely.
lot. I've backed a
Yeah.
lot. I've backed a lot of books, and I think for myself, I've kind of always approached it as I'm cool if I don't get it, and I don't have any. I'm cool if I don't get it. That doesn't mean I'm always going to be coming back to that person's next campaign, but
totally.
But
Yeah.
like, it's like with anything. It's just like, listen, because this one guy didn't do it right doesn't mean every other guy didn't do it right, and so I'm willing to accept that. You know what I mean? And what's happened is, yes, it has matured. It's grown up. A lot of people have gotten into it, maybe got burned. Things have happened. So now
Yeah,
you're
and some
dealing with
people went into it way too fast too.
yeah,
You
totally.
know.
And also, some people got
but
into
yeah.
it maybe without financially being, because there's a business side to it, and that's what hurts that's what people have the most gripe about. It's not like people don't care about their books. It's because maybe the money was mismanaged, or the fulfillment, or these other things that are really outside of the skill set of being a comic book creator. The business side is what's caused so much of the frustration. You know what I mean? And that I get it. It's all there's a lot of amateurs, and it's not that they're wrong being amateurs. They just haven't done it. They're not willfully being that way. They just don't know
sometimes people are making books that are maybe they're too big. They should have done 30 instead of 60 pages, or sometimes just people that are like they're taking everything on, or maybe they did something like, and I've seen this happen quite a bit, where people will think, okay, if I get like 2 or 3 big names to do like a variant cover, and I pay them a lot of money, they'll come in and give me an audience. And a lot of the time, those artists won't do that. And unless you're really good with promoting and you've got an audience to promote too, that's not going to do anything other than drain the funds of your campaign and send them to that artist that did a variant cover for you. So it's one of those things where there's, like you said, there's a lot of growing pains to the process of it. And I hate when I see creators kind of go scorched earth because they kind of had a bad time of it. And instead of being like, look, I messed up. I don't know if I'm going to be able to recover from this or get this done. I'm going to try to do my best, but this is a learning experience for me. And instead they go like, oh, the whole thing's dead and no one's buying anything anymore, and everything's imploded and dead and gone and done. And that's insane. Like I would love to see people stop doing that, because it's the furthest thing from the truth. There's a handful or more maybe of people who have mismanaged things to such a degree where it feels like, wow, that sucks if you back those, and my heart goes out to you if you're missing on something, or you're really disappointed, or if the creator won't refund you about whatever. There's so many little things to it, and it sucks. But in terms of like the entirety of it, when people go scorched earth about it just because they screwed up or had a bad time of it, it's just I can't say that there's any credence to that.
No, I agree. And Kevin Thomas, yes, there will be more Kids and Monsters. If you can imagine, I got a publishing deal with it. It got solicited in previews, and then the publisher made some changes. Diamond had fall apart, and it had been sold to a publisher. It was going to be out on shelves, and then it got.
That's like a whole other.
It's a whole other problem. Yeah, mess with Diamond, and so it all sort of it fell apart there. So I've got the rights and etc. So it will find a place. I did 24 more pages, so it's a more complete story. I might do a second edition launch of it. I'm still trying to figure out the best play with that. But yes, it not forgotten. I'm glad you read it. Peter, I've got to run. I've got a wounded dog to get to, but dude, I love being on here with you. It's great.
Oh, I can't even believe that we're at the hour already. This is nuts.
Wow. We got so much to chat about.
I feel like we just got started, but you're right. Yeah, the hour is up. Well, thank you so much, man, for being here. This was a great conversation. We'll have to do this again sooner rather than later. And everybody in the chat, thank you guys as well.
You're awesome, Brian.
All the best to you guys. And
Love
Adam,
you.
all the best to you, man. Take it easy, and all the best to your dog. Much love to you and yours.
Thanks, brother. We'll see you later.
All right. All right, everyone. So that's it for us tonight. Big shout out again to everybody who's helped back the campaign, not just for the Newsprint Comics campaign, but also for King Cryptid. King Cryptid 10 to 13, which is currently funding right now, has 420 backers on board. I'm really hoping we could get to 500 by the time the dust settles and everything is said and done with the campaign. So there's a lot of irons in the fire. There's the Blood Moon graphic novel, which is being written and worked on and going to be completed probably in the next couple of months. And then there's the King Cryptid 10 to 13 issues. Same deal with those. Alternative remastered books. I've got one within arm's reach to show tonight. So here's the Blood Realm book. This is the remaster book. So we got 2 covers on each one, kind of like the way the King Cryptid ones are, and then we've got them on the remastered paper, so you got that upgraded paper stock, and they come with a double-sided poster. So if you do want to remove it, you can. And on the other side of that poster is, I know it looks funky like this, but that's how it lays out once you take the poster out. It's a remove the staples kind of deal, or remove the poster from the staples, I should say. And then you can get the double-sided poster. But the alternative remastered Wave 1 books, that's 14 different issues. That's shipping out right now, about halfway through on the fulfillment for that, and should be done with the fulfillment in about a week or 2. And then the newsprint books for Blood Realm 15 to 18, that's going to actually start shipping out Saturday. Saturday, the first batch of those books is going to go out. So that's exciting. But yeah, please keep on spreading the word about the campaign, newsprintcomics.com. It's on Fund My Comic. You can go to fundmycomic.com/newsprintcomics or newsprintcomics.com. Either way, you'll get there. And we are in stretch goal territory now. We're at like 15,300 or something like that. The last time I checked, $17,000 mark. We have the first stretch goal for another printer, the third printer, which would be a dedicated printer for mini comics. I've got 2 standard size comic printers that will also print mini comics. But if I can get a dedicated printer just for the mini comics, I can focus on printing standard size comics on the standard size comic printers. Like I said, we got the paper folding machine arriving. That's a very crucial piece of equipment. Instead of like individually folding each page by hand, you put a stack in there and it's like done. It's going to be life-changing, game-changing, every kind of hyped up bullshit word I can mention. It's going to be there, but it's going to be real, unlike hyped up bullshit. So I can't wait to get this going. It's going to be so fantastic. The stuff I'm already seeing come out, I've got the sampler books all done. I've got a bunch of Blood Realm books done. It's looking phenomenal. Phenomenal. But of course, you guys that get the books, you're the final judge of whether or not it looks phenomenal. So I'm very curious as to when people get those first Blood Realm issues, 15 to 18, what they think. Because that's what matters. That's the only thing that matters. I can think they look great. If you guys think they look like crap, I got some thinking to do then. But I think you're gonna love them. All right. Thank you guys so much. One more time, newsprintcomics.com. We got 12 days left. Other than that, I'll see you guys soon. Probably in the next couple of days or so. I'm going to be busy over the course of the weekend getting those Blood Realm books together, so I won't really have a show over the weekend. But I'll probably see you guys either Tuesday or next Thursday. I got to check my schedule with things. The more I'm doing the printing, the less I have time to dedicate to the shows. And thank you guys for understanding. All right. I'll see you guys soon, everybody. Take it easy. Take care. And yeah, no problem, man. See you, Derek. See you, everybody else. Have a wonderful night and an even better tomorrow and many tomorrows to come. See you later.